What's up, Pickleheads? Today we're back. We want to talk about something that's been on our minds lately, especially on my mind, and that is why winners continue to win. Specifically, I want to focus on one player, number one pickleball player in the world, Ben Johns, and talk about why I think he wins consistently. Stick around to the end. I'm sure Austin will give us multiple tips on how we can be winners as well. What's up, boss?
What is up? I'm excited for this podcast because you actually went to San Clemente MLP. You got, I don't know what you got, gonorrhea or something while you were there. And you've been throwing your guts up.
Yeah, just a stomach flu, yeah.
It was worth it, wasn't it?
Gonorrhea, of all things. Yeah.
He contracted it from Ben Johns himself.
Yeah, I got crabs.
So what have you had? What is it? Just a flu?
Yeah, just a stomach flu. This is my second stomach flu in less than a month.
Wow.
So I actually I got it from the kids when we got back. So mom was babysitting the kids, and I ended up getting a flu from one of them.
And she didn't.
I thought I was past it because it's been like a week, and then yesterday I was like, oh no. I can feel it. And yeah, that was not fun. But anyway, prior to that, got to go to my first MLP. For any of those that don't know what MLP is, it's Major League Pickleball. This was the championships at the end of the year. There were only 4 premier teams left, and they battled it out until the final. One of those teams was the Chicago Slice, and Ben Johns is part of that team. I've been to other pickleball tournaments before. Austin and I have both been to multiple PPAs, which is the Professional Pickleball Association, but I had not been to Major League Pickleball before. Scratch that. You remember when you and I played a tournament in California? There was a Major League Pickleball tournament going on. We didn't watch it or anything. We basically played our little tournament and went home. But I mean, I guess we kind of saw a teensy bit walking in and walking out. But this was the first one that I went to. I went to actually watch. My wife and I both went. It was a blast. But before I talk about how winners win and what I noticed while I was there, everyone talks about how the Major League Pickleball experience is so different and like so much better than PPA or APP. I got to be honest, and maybe people are going to hate me for this. MLP felt a lot like a PPA tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like it wasn't, I didn't really notice much of a difference. It could be the fact that this came directly after PPA. So PPA was that weekend. Ben and all the other players had played from Thursday through Sunday at the PPA championships, and they went directly into Monday, Tuesday playing Major League Pickleball. So it was the same venue and everything. They just switched a few things up to say MLP instead of PPA.
Oh, that's funny.
So, I mean, that could have been part of it. The fact that they're merging, the eventual merge, I still don't think it's official, might have had something to do with it too. I don't know. I love going and watching, but it did feel like a PPA tournament. That being said, San Clemente is a sweet venue, like super nice venue. The seating was definitely better. Like the whole experience as far as like being there was really nice. The weather was absolutely perfect, of course. It just felt like really like ritzy and nice being in San Clemente. But other than that, I didn't really notice much of a difference between PPA and MLP. So now all the MLP diehards can yell at me for that, but that part kind of felt the same. But if you do have a chance to go to a professional pickleball tournament, it's fun to go to, and you can definitely learn a lot more in person. And I'm talking a lot, but that's what I wanted to talk about today. Okay, so we go. Ben John's team is not the favorite because he was picked first in the draft. And when you're picked first in the draft, your other teammates come later in the draft. So, that's their way of, which makes sense. That's their way of evening out all the teams, right? And they definitely didn't have the best record, so they had to win in order to get to the final. And I didn't think this time, I typically don't bet against Ben Johns, I didn't think this time their team was going to get to the final. Mostly because before they even started playing, Ben looked like he was sleepwalking. And he may have been really tired from playing from Thursday through Sunday, and then all of a sudden he's got to play Monday basically mid-morning. So that's a really quick turnaround, and you're not getting much rest. But I did notice some things with him that I'm finally putting together now. Mm-hmm. So do you ever watch him? I'm going to ask you this question, Os. By the way, for everyone listening, I did not tell Austin what we were talking about this week just to make it more exciting. But this question, do you ever notice Ben arguing with the ref or arguing with the other players about a call? Or do you ever notice him whining a bunch about something? Do you ever notice him lose control? I just wonder, for all those questions, I think the answer is the same, but do you ever notice him lose it or anything like that?
No, he doesn't lose it. I forgot that people are listening. I was shaking my head there. I don't know if you guys could hear me shake my head there, but no, you really don't. Something that was interesting about this last MLP is in the final, he was playing against Anna Bright, who I'm not a fan of at all. And I just don't like her on-court antics.
Same.
She looks like she's just on drugs, honestly. She really does. She'll go back to the line and she'll dribble her ball, and it's like she has almost like a tick with whatever she's on. She's got to be on something. Anyway, she bugs the crap out of me. She challenged a non-call being made from the previous point. She said, we want to challenge it and see if Ben stepped on the line. And Ben was like, what? You can't do that. He said something along those lines. You were there, so you saw this firsthand. But it was something like, what? You can't do that. And the ref was like, yes, she can. Yes, she can. And I'm just like, get this ref out of here. This is the stupidest rule ever. Even if that is a rule, you shouldn't enforce it. And that rule needs to be changed to go and be like, hey, on point number 1, we're now on point 21 now or whatever. On point number 1, I think that he stepped on the line. I want to challenge it. It's like, what?
Yeah, there's not a chance. There's no way that's a rule.
Anyways, but that's the only thing that I've ever seen Ben do is he'll sometimes do that. And then also when a match is close sometimes and he plays an unreal point, he'll do his it's the coolest thing ever, I think, because I've never seen another professional in any sport do it quite this way, but his celebration, I think, is really cool, honestly. He'll put and you've seen it, he'll put his fists down by his sides, and then it's not like he's thrusting. He
like a jolt.
It's like a jolt, yeah. It's really, really cool, I think. And I've never seen that in other sports. He didn't copy what another professional athlete has done in the past. He just does what feels good to him, and I think that it looks really cool. What are your thoughts on that, just as a side note?
Yeah, and that's also pretty rare from him. I mean, you rarely see him celebrate either. So he came walking in with sunglasses on. I've rarely, if ever, seen him argue about something. If someone's going to argue, it's usually his teammate, it's usually his brother, or it's Annalie Waters. And I think the reason for this, the point that I want to put to all of this, is I think he is so focused that he has to, and he's prepared enough that he has to let anything outside of his focus go. He can consistently win against some of the best. Everyone has a chance to beat him because they know his way of playing. They can watch his film over and over, but for some reason he continues to win. And I honestly think he is so focused that he's able to do so. At the same time, I don't think he's uncaring, but I do think when you're at the top like that, you have to, if you want to still continue to win, you have to get to a point where it doesn't bother you if you lose, and it's not life-changing if you win.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what his attitude seemed like all weekend. Not that I don't want this to go the wrong way, like, okay, so to win pickleball tournaments, you just have to not care. It's not that he doesn't care. I think he has to train his mind, unlike any other sport. He has to train his mind in a way to where if he wins, he's okay. If he loses, he's okay. Because it's not a sport where you can go super high adrenaline, super high. You can't pump yourself up for this because there's so much technique and thought and focus.
You have to be calm.
You have to be calm. You have to be consistent. You have to be able to reset 1 second and then be able to pound the ball the next second, right? It's not like a UFC fight where these MMA guys, like, that's more me. That's more how I grew up. I could get really pumped for something if it was hardcore like that, because the whole time you're going full blast and you're going hardcore, and that's fine. But this is completely different. If I'm going full blast and I'm completely pumped up and I'm yelling and I'm swearing or whatever, I can't really play pickleball. Pickleball does not work that way. My shots will not be consistent. I'm not going to have that focus that I need. So anyway, I hate to say the word uncaring, but he seems to be able to quickly get into a flow state and focus completely. Like, I watched him the entire time. Let's hear your thoughts on that for a second, Oz, and then I'll bring up another point, related to that, and bring that even farther. But what do you think about that? What do you think about him? How is it that he stays so focused and controlled?
I kind of think of him as like a really good boss or mentor to everybody that he's on the team with. They're all like looking up to him, obviously, because he's the best. But I feel like he's a level 6 executive, I think is what it's called in business, where it's like he doesn't let things affect him. He doesn't let his temper get to him, type of thing, or like let people annoy him. Maybe he does, but he just kind of holds it in. But it was interesting watching that final. He's down 0-2, and it just looks like he doesn't care, honestly. And he goes and he's halfway sitting down. Jesse, his partner, this is while they're watching the other match with Eric and whatever.
Lacey.
What is it?
Schneemann.
Yeah, Schneemann. This is while he's watching that match. He's halfway sitting down. Jesse's out on the court, like cheering him on, and it's like almost like he doesn't care. And Eric plays a fantastic game. Lacey plays a decent game from what I remember. I think she played good as well. I don't really remember. But anyways, he's just like halfway sitting down, almost like he doesn't care. But then they come off the court, and he's like high-fiving them. But he's also totally in the zone. It's like a quick celebration of great job coming back. But then he's back in the zone. You can almost like see the switch. So it is interesting. It looks like he doesn't care, but really, I think what it comes down to is he's just straight up relaxed, calm, cool, collected. He's not worried at all. There's no sense of worry going on. It's either my day or it's not, but I'm not going to let my emotions affect me, and I'm still going to come out and I'm going to play my game.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's just so focused that it's either my day or it's not. I like that. That was actually the next point that I was going to bring up. So while his teammates are playing there, again, I guarantee Ben Johns cares. I guarantee he cares. I guarantee he cares about his teammates too. But in order for him to focus, I'd love to ask him, but I bet we're pretty much right here.
Yeah.
Especially seeing him in person too. He does care. If someone asks him a question, he's happy to answer the question. But even in interviews, you can tell, like, say he's up for a Triple Crown on Sunday, meaning let's say he played singles first, and then he's still got to play mixed doubles and doubles. He goes in for a singles interview and he answers their question, but he's still calm in that situation. I really think he's focused on his next 2 matches. He's able to, I guarantee he's not uncaring, but he is of that thought of, it's either my day or it's not my day. I'm just going to do what I know how to do best, and I'm going to stay focused on doing that. He doesn't let much get to him. And I was thinking about a few podcasts back, we talk about Novak Djokovic in tennis. And then he was just recently interviewed.
60 Minutes.
60 Minutes, yeah. Did you watch that or no?
I started it actually while I was eating my bowl of cereal this morning, and then I never finished it.
Okay. I just saw a little clip from it, and it reminded me of what we had talked about previously. But he talks about how his mental game, the guy that was interviewing him, I don't know his name, the guy that was interviewing him said, your mental game is probably the strongest part of your game. Walk us through that gift. And he said, cool. I need to correct you there. It's not a gift. That's something that I have to work towards. And I have to, he's talking about how he has to work towards getting to that point mentally every single time. He said, I have worries and I have this and that, just like everyone else. And so he talks about understanding in the moment, hey, this is a worry of mine. So he recognizes it in the moment. And then he says, but I only let that happen for a few seconds or for a short time, and then it's time to focus again. So he recognizes that, hey, there might be an issue, or hey, so-and-so is bothering me, or I'm frustrated with myself because I'm not hitting this right, but it's time to refocus again. He only lets it happen for a short time.
Did he break that down? Did he break down like what it means to focus again? Because I feel like that's easier said than done. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, that's bothering me. Time to focus. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
What did he say?
His biggest thing is conscious breathing. And I want to work on that a little bit more too. Oxygen plays a big role in our brain, obviously. There was another podcast that I was listening to recently. I hope this doesn't turn anyone off. Gary Brecka is the guy's name. He has 10X supplements. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast recently. And he talked about the importance of oxygen. Talked about a lot of other different things too. And then I heard, I don't remember what the guy's name was, on a different podcast talking about how oxygen can be so important. And so I think focused breathing, and I'm going to try this too, can really help you get more in that flow state and ignore kind of those outside things or inside things that are really bothering you. So it doesn't mean they don't exist. It doesn't mean that you're going to be in a perfect state of mind the entire time. But when they do happen, focus on, he calls it conscious breathing, so that you can get out of it faster than you normally would and not get stuck in one negative thing turning into a domino effect of multiple negative things.
That's a good point. And especially in tennis, it's like they're spending 80% of the time on court not actually playing. They have so much time in between. It's actually 80%. I don't know if you knew that, but they have so much time in between points to take that time to consciously breathe as they bounce their serve, as they go towel off, which they do in between every point. Pickleball, it's a little bit faster, but you still do have that time. So that's interesting. That's something that I've never done, is actually consciously breathe, but I can see how getting that, first of all, getting that extra oxygen into your lungs is going to slow down your heart rate, right? I think something along the lines of like you take a breath in and then you hold that breath, and the slower that you breathe, the slower that your heart rate goes, something like that. But also taking in that oxygen is just honing in your mind on the fact that you're breathing instead of on the fact that you're down 9-6 in the final game or something like that. You're just thinking about consciously breathing. So that's really interesting. That's cool.
And so when I think about Ben Johns, I mean, there's multiple players that have like a reset. I know that like Zane Navratil likes to go and tap the back wall every time with his paddle before, and that's kind of his reset before the next point. Or Leah Jansen does her crazy ass thing where she crosses her body with the paddle, but it works for her. That's fine. It is crazy, but it works for her. Ben Johns, I don't know if you've noticed, he never used to do this, but I would say in the past year or so, it's more of a Djokovic serve to where he'll bounce that ball, not as extended, but he'll bounce the ball for a while. I think during that time he's resetting before each point because you have 10 seconds when you serve, but how many of the players do you actually see take even close to those 10 seconds for their once the score is called? I mean, for anyone listening or watching that doesn't know, once the score is called by the ref, you have 10 seconds before you have to actually make contact with the ball on your serve. But it's very rare that anyone takes even close to that. But I would say Ben takes a good 5, maybe 6 seconds during that time, and maybe that's what he's doing then. So I guess I should explain then also us. So we're there watching. It's always different in person. It feels a little bit more intimate to me, and I feel like I learn a little bit more in person.
Yeah.
Not that I don't learn when I'm watching on YouTube or wherever else, but he just seemed like he was in such a state to where it's okay if I lose, it's okay if I win. I'm just going to focus and play my game. Like you could tell just from his antics the entire time. So like you said, they make it to the final, which was somewhat a surprise in the first place.
Yeah.
That they even got to the final because they had to beat Miami, which I thought they had a good chance to beat Miami, and they did, and they won. But then they had to go through DC, which I thought was the toughest team this year, and they had just won the previous one. And somehow, by some miracle, they make it through that one. They were down 0-2 in that one too.
That's
I don't know
crazy.
if you watched. And then they go and they play in the final against the Squeeze, and then they go down 0-2 again, meaning they lost their men's match and they lost their women's match.
Who played who in mixed against DC? I didn't watch it.
Okay, let me think for a second. So Riley and one of the Kawamotos,
Jackie, maybe, or Jade.
I sometimes get them. It was Jade, I believe. I get those two mixed up because they are twins. But I think they actually ended up playing Zane and Rohrabacher. And then Ben and... I'm sorry.
Wait. Not Zane and Rohrabacher, because that's Squeeze. They were on the opposite side.
Yeah, Squeeze, sorry. Eric Lang and Lacey Schneeman.
Okay, so
I think that's the way it went.
Eric and Lacey played against Riley and one of them.
Maybe they didn't.
Because that's a big win for Eric.
Now I can't remember. But anyways, they ended up winning both those mixed matches. I honestly can't remember now. There were so many, right?
That's
one right
crazy.
After the
That's
other.
such good wins.
Yeah. But then they're down 0-2 in the final against the Squeeze. Ben and Jesse play... Well, first Eric and Lacey play Zane and Rohrabacher.
Yeah.
Rachel. And Zane and Rachel are looking really good in the beginning. And
they're up the whole time.
Lacey, to be honest, is looking like dog crap, especially in the beginning.
That's what I thought. Wow. I didn't want to say it.
Well, it looks like it's over for them, you know? And Ben is just his relaxed self over there, about to fall asleep standing up. And then they start to turn it on, man. And Eric played well, and Lacey finally turned it up, and they won. And then Ben and Jesse get out there, and then they win. And so I'm like, well, they kind of have a chance, you know, to win this whole thing.
Yeah, still, you don't think.
Yeah, because what happens is they go to what's called a Dream Breaker, and that's like a singles playoff at the end. And everyone has been dogging on Ben all year because he picked Jessie Irvin, and her singles game is absolute trash.
Yeah, I didn't even watch
She's
that.
Just not.
I didn't watch the Dream Breaker. Did she win any points? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, so she's just not a singles player. So I leaned over to Whitney, my wife, and I'm like, sorry, they don't have a chance. I don't care if Ben wins all his points. Jessie is she's not a singles player. They made it this far, but that's it for them. And she's like, I think they got a chance. I'm like, oh, okay. And Jessie played pretty lights out, man, and she ended up winning more points than Rachel, and they took it to him like it was super surprising.
That's crazy.
But after all that of thinking like, maybe you shouldn't even be here in the final to, again, winning the final, the guy just wins over and over right after winning a Triple Crown.
It's insane.
It was really cool to watch that in person and to watch his antics while he did it. Again, not to be uncaring, but his antics of it's either my day or it's not, so I'm going to be cool with it and focused. And so I think that's why, honestly, he continues to win. I think it's definitely more mental than physical. Obviously, he puts in the work, every day physically. But I think that little bit of mental gives him the edge over everyone else that he plays against. I mean, can you think of someone else that has the mental game that he has in pickleball or close to?
No, not even on the women's side.
Yeah.
He's just superior to all, honestly. Like Annalie Waters, she's just extremely good. She's leaps and bounds from a physical standpoint. Not physically as in like stature or anything, but her game is leaps and bounds better than every other girl. Whereas Ben's is better than every other guy, obviously, but it's his mental game that's leaps and bounds in that direction.
Yeah.
So it's like there's just a huge gap between Annalie and all the other women physically. But I do think that she has a great mind, but I don't think anybody compares to Ben. It's absolutely insane. Insane that he can be in that situation and win, come back and bring it to 2-2 and then still keep his head in the game enough to not like overanalyze and freak out and be like, oh, we've come back now. Like we got to make it happen right now. That's not going through his mind at all. His mind is just task at hand.
Yeah. He won their mixed game without barely any celebration or anything, just walked off to the side and then just started warming up for singles. Stoic, I think is the word.
I watched the first point of that just him versus Zane. That was it. And then all of a sudden my son grabbed the remote, fast forwarded it, and it was 2018 when he pushed play. It was kind of funny. So he pushed play at 2018. I'm like, all right, well, no point in watching it now. And then I watched the final point, and I think it was Schneemann, won the final point. But it was funny. But I watched those first 4 points against Zane, and Zane hit this insane winner. There was no chance he was winning the point, and he hit this insane winner off of the third shot. Insane angle, and I was like, yeah, they're in trouble here. And then he fast forwards it. It's 2018. I'm like, I'm shocked. I was super happy for him, though. I was glad they won because I like everybody on the squeeze except for one person. So
yeah, same thing. I like Zane. I like Diasco. I really struggle with Anna Bright.
Very antics. It's me that's the problem too. I'm the one that's bugged by him. I'm the one that's bugged by her ticks, like literally.
For me, it's not just the antics either. It's her, I don't know, the idea that maybe she's better than everybody else. And maybe she's not, but that's just how it comes off to me.
Yeah.
And so it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
It's wenchy.
Yeah.
Wenchy.
Like you said, maybe it's my problem.
Yeah. It's our problem for sure.
So to narrow this all down, why winners continue to win and why those that dominate continue to dominate, I think it's their mental capacity. If you haven't already, go back and watch or listen to our podcast titled 10 Mental Tips for Your Pickleball Game. We go through a lot of strategies that can help you focus mentally. Conscious breathing is another thing. There's definitely books to read. We mentioned those in the 10 Mental Tips podcast. But I just thought it was really cool to be able to watch him in person and actually, see what makes him so successful.
Yeah.
And yeah, the mental thing is pretty great.
Yeah, hopefully he comes to Red Rock this year because he didn't come last year. So I hope he makes it happen because I would like to see him in person. I'm not about to travel anywhere to see him. So one other side note before we finish, Jack Sock, Catherine Parento are going to be playing together in 2024. I'm sure you saw that.
I did.
I'm excited about that. And I think Jack Sock is going to come in. I mean, since he has Catherine Parento, I couldn't have picked a better person for him for mixed. I think that's freaking perfect.
She's a rock.
I think we're going to see so many finals with Jack Sock, Catherine, Ben, and Ali. So many finals, and I do think that Jack Sock is going to start coming out on top of them about halfway through the year and pass up Ben. That's my prediction.
That's a bold prediction, Cotton. Yeah, I think the same thing. I think they might start out a little bit slow. They'll get used to each other. Jack will start to get used to playing against different players. See what he needs to cover, but he's meant for mixed too.
Yeah, he is. His length.
And yeah, she's so consistent. So I think they can do really well. I really think, even though I'm not a huge fan, I think Anna and James will do really well this year too. I think towards the end of the year, they've really started to turn it on and figure out some things. So it'll be a struggle for Jack and Catherine, even playing them in the beginning, but I think they'll start to figure it out, like you said. So
I remember
that'll be really fun to watch.
Anna and James played against Jack and Anna Lee in that random tournament in North Carolina, Jack's only tournament. And Jack got in the head of Anna Bright, like super bad. And I remember like watching her lips and the stuff that she was saying. She was saying some like savage things about how much she hated Jack Sock. She's like, I freaking hate him. But she was not saying freaking. And she was just like, he's such a D. He's such a D. Like she was not saying D. But I think that he's definitely in her head. I can see them doing well. I honestly think, here's my unpopular opinion. I think James needs to stop split stepping as much as he's split stepping because it's hurting his game. And in this recent tournament, the CIBC, whatever it was, the finals.
Yeah.
Watching him and Matt Wright play against the Johns Bros, and every single time that Ben speeds it up to James is shanking it time and time again. And it's because he's literally hopping as he's trying to counter or reset the ball every single time. Yeah. So they kept coming out on top of it. And I'm just like, dude, it just makes no sense to be moving as you're hitting the ball. So I think that he needs to change that to an extent. I still think it's good to move, but he has to be still when he's actually making contact with the ball. But that being said, would James absolutely destroy me? Yes. That also being said, could James be the number one player in the world if he changed that? In my opinion, I think he could. And I don't think it has to be a drastic change, but dude's got to stop hopping that much. It's not helping.
Yeah, he's been on fire for sure. What he's lacking is consistency. When he hits a winner, he hits a winner, man.
I love his
crazy.
Form.
But one step forward, two steps back. You know, you hit that crazy, beautiful, good-looking winner, and then you shank 2 or 3 balls in a row. It's not really helping you.
I mean, go watch.
So
yeah,
I didn't really
go watch that match. I'm sure you have watched it, but I'm telling everybody like, go watch that match. It's the CIBC finals. It's Matt Wright, James Ignatowicz versus Ben and Colin. Go watch it. You'll see he literally shanks so many shots, and it's not just this match. It's multiple matches. When he gets sped up on, he has a fantastic counter half the time, but the other half the time he's up in the air as he's trying to counter the ball. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't. That's good that you pointed that out. I wondered what it was that's making him just be inconsistent, because his serve is fire lately.
So good.
Like, so fast. He misses one every once in a while, but I think it's worth it in his situation, just like I think it's worth it in Deckel's situation. I think those two can go for it because they make it 9 times out of 10, and they'll usually get points off of their serve because of how fast that it is.
And they're giants.
So I think it's worth it in that situation. But yeah, the consistency is all that he's missing there. So Yeah, we'll find out. It'll be an exciting year. I do think he and Matt will definitely make some finals, if not win a few this coming year. And we still don't know
Yeah.
who Jack Sock is playing with men's wise, right?
Sounds like Sam Querrey.
Oh, no way.
That's my guess.
No way.
I don't know. Like, hey, maybe Sam will come out and surprise us and play good, but I've already seen him and Jack play together. And unless Sam is a different person, which he could be in 2024, maybe he's actually been spending time training. Unless he's a different person. But we saw them play in that as they were like the coaches of that one tournament, whatever. They played together. They could have, if there was 2 Jacks out on the court, they would have won in 2. But they barely lost the first game and then got smoked the second game. But it's like, if it's a different Sam Querrey, which from what I'm hearing, I heard that he's been applying himself more and actually training. So,
I mean, that's possible, but I just don't see the fit with him and pickleball at least being at the top. But it could happen. But let's turn into Pickleheads here for just a second and think about. Let's guess who Jack Sock could play with before we end the pod. So we know that Matt is playing with James. Tyson doesn't have a partner right now, to my knowledge, but he played with Jack once and they lost in the first round. So I don't see Tyson and Jack getting together. Could have been a fluke. I know that the people they played were real familiar with Jack's game because they're from North Carolina. They played with him before, blah, blah, blah. So that could have had something to do with it. But I don't think it's going to be Tyson. Ben's obviously locked in with Colin. James is obviously... J.W. Johnson is locked in with Dylan Frazier. I'm just trying to think of some of the top guys.
Here's who he needs to play with, and here's who he would win with halfway through the year, regardless of men's or women's.
Let's say it at the same time. Okay, we're talking about a guy, right?
Yeah, he needs to ditch his current partner because his current partner chokes at every single tournament. Okay.
Oh, maybe we're not talking about the same guy, but on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thomas
Christian
Wilson.
Alshon.
Oh, that's funny. Christian could be good too. Thomas Wilson and
Christian
him, though, I
improved
think.
so much.
Christian has.
He could play with Christian and they'd be super successful, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't play with Riley. It sounds like Riley's playing with Christian and maybe Thomas and mixing it up again. Who knows what he's doing? But Riley wants to be the guy. He wants to be the guy, and nobody can play with him because he's constantly switching things up, even during the game, and it's messing all of his partners up. But yeah, Thomas Wilson would be a great one. Christian Alshon would be a good one.
Those would
AJ,
be my top 2.
I love you, man, but I don't think so.
I also think Travis Rettenmeyer, because I think Travis could play really well on the right side with Jack.
Oh, I think so too.
I think that would be a good match.
But it sounds like he's going to play with Zane a lot next year, and
that'd be good. You're saying
who?
Travis?
Travis, yeah, he's going to play with Zane quite a bit, and it'll come to me.
Deckel.
I can't remember who else he said he was going to play with. Nah. I mean,
Julian.
It's possible that Jack would play with Deckel. Jack could play with Julian and get in people's heads, but I think Julian still is one of those that has to be the guy and wants to be on the left, so I don't see that one happening either. Whoever Jack plays with, Jack plays on the left.
I agree. He has to play on the freaking left.
Yeah.
He can just cover so much court. I think top team, though, him and Thomas Wilson, in my opinion, I think would beat the Johns brothers within a few tournaments, and then they'd continue beating them.
That'd be a crazy team.
You got Thomas, who has insanely fast hands, and
feet.
And feet, and probably the most athletic person in pickleball right now. And then you have Jack Sock coming in, who just replaced him. So now he's gone from most athletic to second most athletic because Jack's there. Yeah. It's like you have the 2 most athletic people, fastest hands. I just don't see them losing very often after they figure out antics and stuff like that and working with each other.
Yeah.
But him and Christian could be good too.
Jack Sock doesn't, I mean, is it possible that he doesn't have a partner yet? I think he does, and they're keeping it on the low right now. But what do you think?
I hope that he's talked to Thomas. I don't know. It's like, dude, I don't know. All I know is as soon as I found out Jack was with Selkirk, I don't know how long ago that was, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever it was. I said him and Thomas Wilson need to play together. So if they play together, we're going to see them in a final. And I bet it'll be, I mean, I hope that they do so that I can prove my point. But I just see them as being disgusting together.
Oh, yeah. That would be a killer team for sure. All right, Os. Anything else?
No, that was awesome. Thanks for preparing that. Thanks for going to San Clemente and getting gonorrhea so that we could all hear, so that we could all learn.
No problem. I do it for the people.
He's a very selfless man.
People.
Well, glad you're feeling better. And thanks for joining us, Pickleheads. We'll see you on the next one.
Later.